To all the men sitting in the audience here today, I have some things to tell you. Man up. Be a man. Don't be such a girl. Have you ever been told to do or to be any of those phrases when you were younger? Perhaps when you fell down the stairs and started crying, or when you were frustrated and started crying. Well, these are some of the phrases that I handpicked from a plentiful stack of soul-shattering, ego-damaging constructions built in today's society. These phrases feminize emotional expression and masculinize violence and dominance. And the Arab world in particular has an unrealistic definition for masculinity. Every day there are young boys and men that feel inferior because they don't comply to this status quo. The Arab world has this misconception that the gender-labeled male is prohibited from expressing emotions, is prohibited from taking up the arts, and is prohibited from expressing themselves as individuals. There are young boys and men that are forced to be hyper-masculine. And I hope it's okay if I can speak on behalf of the Arab population when I say that being a man in today's society is unfortunately being the stereotypical man. A man that is dominant, shows no weakness, does not express emotions, and is always the one that supports the household. I believe that the Arab world has a misunderstood idea of what a man is, that I believe is not only false, but also harmful. Now, in the Arab society, I believe that there are 3 thresholds to pass to qualify as a real man. And this threshold starts during childhood. It is a time when these young boys then are forced to be hypermasculine, are forced to be real men. It is a time when toys and media are aggressively targeted towards boys, limiting their options. For example, next to me are word clouds. Word clouds for girl toys and word clouds for boy toys. Look at the word cloud for boy toys and let that sink in. The use of these demanding, violent, superior words influence boys from a young age. For example, when you think of a pink, fluffy diary, who do you think that toy would be targeted towards? For girls, for little girls. As soon as we could pick up things and play, emotions were feminized. Society constructed toys such as pink, fluffy diaries for girls to vent, for girls to write down their emotions, but no means for boys to rant, no means for boys to vent, no means for boys to write down or to express their emotions. And this influenced also boys' perceptions and understandings of gender roles. They now understand that women should stay at the house, should cook, clean, provide for the house and the kids, while they, the men, take power, control, and provide for the family. So not only is this influence affecting boys and just boys, but it is adding to the already biased inequality amongst genders. And the parents in the Arab world don't make it any easier. If they see boys hitting, fighting, or screaming with other girls, they'll pass it off as oh, boys will be boys. But this encouragement only makes it okay for boys to feel and act this way. And in the long run, will lead them to objectify females excessively. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Egyptian, born and raised. And another big aspect of this threshold is sports. In Egypt, and specifically in the Arab world, it is football. It is how guys start making guy friends. It is how boys know what it is to socialize with other boys. And growing up, I didn't really play football. I mean, I liked it, and I still kind of do, but I was never really good at it, so I never really gave it a try. And I know that deep down inside, my father would have loved to take me to football games and would have loved to play football with me constantly. And we did go and do some of those things sometimes. Yeah, that's my dad. But I found myself having to conform to the football equals man mentality. My father did not pressure me to go watch football games. My father didn't pressure me to go play football constantly or watch football. My father let me become the man I am today, but I wanted to go watch football. I wanted to go play football. And not out of my interest for the sport, but because I wanted to fit in. I did not want to stand out. I wanted to hide my emotions and my interests so I could fit in. I wanted to be one with the guys. Now, as soon as boys pass this first threshold, they enter threshold 2. In the late 20s to early 30s, men that have a decent job and a good income boost their egos from their success at work onto others out of the workplace, such as family and friends. They begin to think that their professional success means that they are above women, even though the facts say otherwise. Female literacy rates in our world are fairly equal to those of men. And the amount of female college graduates are also fairly equal to those of men, with 5.1 million women as opposed to only 5 million men. And even more so, females are acquiring all the skills necessary to beat the boys in the hard sciences and the technology and engineering. So why don't they have as much professional success? The answer is simple. It's mindset. Unfortunately, in our society, perception trumps reality. Men perceive women as lesser beings. Why? Because of threshold 1. These men were brainwashed and were programmed into thinking that they are above women, even though the facts say otherwise. Now, threshold 3. This is when the man has a family, kids, and to protect and shelter his wife and kids with the support of the family, he is a true man. He is a real man. Rarely do you see in my society the man and woman, the husband and wife, working together simultaneously to support the family with a source of income. And never, ever do you see a stay-at-home dad. This is because this idea and this notion of the woman, of the wife, of the inferior being to go out and support the family economically is non-existent in my society. It makes the man feel emasculated. Actually, men and women in my society start forming a family when the man is ready and when the man is capable of providing the family with a source of income. But we need to look at this from a bigger scope. We need to understand what the true definition of a man is. Nowadays, men tend to follow other men. What I mean by this is that men tend to put on this mask and pretend to be someone that they aren't for the sake of fitting in. And that is an issue. But the bigger issue is, if you are a man and you don't abide by the status quo, if you're outside this man box perimeter, then there are some serious psychological and social consequences that can be seen on a daily basis. Crimes such as rape, domestic violence, and sexual assault are dominantly performed by men. According to a study published in Boston University, 63% of male rapists that admit to raping more than once. According to Refuge.org, 95% of domestic violence acts are committed by men. According to a study published in the University of Michigan, 99% of sexual abusers, perpetrators, and assaults are men. All these crimes derive from the restriction of and the lack of acceptance of emotion. Why? Because men can't cry. We can't express emotions because we are men. Masculinity and femininity are both traits that men and women can acquire. They're both on the same spectrum. If there's an extreme masculinity on this end, an extreme femininity on this end, men and women can be here, 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 or here. For example, according to society, I would be here. Because I love theater, I love poetry, I love acting, I love so many things the society says is too feminine or too artsy for a man. But since when did a man's interest make him any less masculine? Since when did a man's lack of interest in a sport make him any less masculine? Masculinity is individuality. But as a society, we constructed this invisible pressure imposed on young boys, ingraining this idea of masculinity in their heads, creating identical molds. No room for creativity, no room for individuality. Masculinity is individuality. I am not any less of a man than my friend who plays violent video games and my friend who plays all kinds of sports. We created this invisible pressure and we can tear it down. But it's up to us to alter this societal expectation. So instead of expecting something from us, accept who we are. Thank you.